Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Mouse,
And my name is Hayate.
and together we're the hosts of Swan Shootout Radio, a podcast where we talk about niche Japanese video games. And today we have two guests with us to help discuss Money Puzzle Exchanger, or Money Idol Exchanger as it's known in Japan. Chumlum and Zil are joining us. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thanks, guys.
Hello, this is Chum.
If you want, you can each take a minute or so just to introduce yourself and talk about your history with this particular game.
Well, Sil, I think you probably remember as well how we discovered this game, right?
Yeah, it was Shimatora, right?
Yeah, Shimatora. So we had a small Toho playing community, and one of us was more into fighting games, I think. And we saw her stream Money Puzzle Exchanger one day, and so we started playing it a lot, mostly together at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was back in like 2013, around that time.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, because I remember that I was on a trip at the start of 2014, and I was playing it on that trip. So.
Okay. Wow.
So that's how we discovered it, and yeah, we both pretty much fell in love with the game.
So we're looking forward to hearing your insight onto this game because I know both of you are, I guess, super players, you'd say. But before we get into that, we usually do a little introductory icebreaker segment where we just talk about a game or two that we've been playing recently. Now, Hayate, I know you've been playing Unlimited Saga recently.
Oh,
Do you want
yeah.
to talk about that?
Well, I beat Ruby's scenario a couple days ago, although I believe this game will serve really well for a future episode, so I think it's best to reserve the more meaty commentary on the game for now. Although I will say I really enjoyed the pen and paper take on the usual Saga formula, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I missed out on since it's a very confusing game to start with. And well, I really liked how open it gets. It reminded me of my time with Saga Scarlet Grace. And although mechanically I think this game is a bit more interesting, since I didn't like how in Saga Scarlet Grace you can only equip one weapon per character. So yeah, I was really enjoying it, and I look forward to starting another character scenario soon. Although I've really been wanting to play the Saga Frontier remaster as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Twitch streams from Japanese players the past couple days, and I really want to dive into the new content. So that's has been it for me, and I've also been playing some shogi games, since I've been learning it lately. On the Famicom Meijin game, which you recommended me, and I was also looking at another Famicom game called Honshogi, which has an active RTA community, actually. So that's what I've been playing the most lately.
For me, I've mostly been reading some novel games.
Oh, yeah.
I recently read Matachi no Nemuri on the Super Famicom. This is based on two novels by Jiro Akigawa, a very prolific mystery novelist. The story is about a salaryman who gets a strange phone call from a woman while working late one night, and then that night he has a dream about a girl who he was friends with as a child. And in the morning he reads in the newspaper that girl, now an adult woman of course, she's either gone missing or killed herself, depending on what route you're on. So he decides to abandon his job and visits the small, isolated village where this woman lived and worked as a school teacher. And there he kind of gets wrapped up in a mystery involving the folklore of this town. There's 4 different scenarios, each with a fairly unique story, but only one of them really appealed to me much, that being a vampire scenario. I was also frustrated by the fact that it's very easy to get bad endings, and in that case you have to reread a lot to get back to where you were at because there's autosave.
Yeah.
And there's no quick way to skip through the text. Overall, it was fairly enjoyable, but not really great, and I can only really recommend the vampire scenario.
All right.
Chum, what about you?
Well, I've actually been playing a lot on Fightcade recently, so this was kind of a good time to have this episode. I've been playing a lot of beat 'em ups and Twinkle Star Sprites. That's mostly what I've been playing, I would say. So, Final Fight and other beat 'em ups and Twinkle Star Sprites.
So, how about you?
Lately, pretty much just Tetris, the Grandmaster, and Twinkle Star Sprites, and yeah, I've been playing a lot of just random games with Chum on Fightcade, so beat 'em ups as well. And apart from that, nothing too serious. Like I haven't gotten seriously involved in a game in a long time. Basically, just Tetris and Twinkle Star Sprites.
Yeah, it's been a while since I was doing seriously in some game. Was doing a lot of Shoot the Bullet and Double Spoiler last year, but so far this year I've been just mostly playing games more casually.
All right. Well, I think we can get into talking about Money Puzzle Exchanger now.
Yeah,
For those who don't know, this is an arcade action puzzle game released in 1997. Face, a fairly small publisher known mainly for making PC Engine games and arcade games in the 90s. The gameplay in Money Puzzle Exchanger is very similar to other puzzle games called Mogia and the Magical Drop series. Now, Mogia was a falling block puzzle game similar to Puyo Puyo, and the main difference with it and Puyo Puyo is that it uses a concept where instead of using color blocks, you have coins that drop down, and if you match up coins of equal value, then they will turn into a coin of a higher value. So for example, if you match up 5 1-yen coins, they turn into one 5-yen coin. And that can then combo with another 5-yen coin to make a 10-yen. If you have 5 10-yens, they turn into 150, and so on and so forth. So Money Puzzle Exchanger basically took that concept, and instead of a falling block puzzle game, it uses magical drop style gameplay, where the blocks are at the top of the screen, and you can pull them down and then drop them back off on a different column. And it turns out that Data East, the owners of Magical Drop, were not very pleased with how similar it was. So they actually filed a lawsuit against Face, claiming copyright infringement. But Face was already going bankrupt at the time, so they settled out of court. And then Face kind of, fell off the face of the earth, and that was the end of that.
Okay.
So we were going to do a little gameplay demonstration to better explain the mechanics of the game. Do you guys want to get into that now?
Sure. Yeah. Should we start with showing solo?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have these modes here. Versus computer is probably the least popular mode because it's kind of like a mixture of 1P versus 2P and solo, getting the least important aspect of each, meaning making it probably the worst mode. So I can press down to bring down the board so I can get some more coins. So this is what the game looks like. You can see that it's just pure mathematics with the 5 ones turning into a 5 and so on. And the 500s are the only coin that actually disappear when you clear them. So if I would want to clear these ones, they will turn into a 5, and you can see that there's these like squares that show what will happen, where the 5 will show up. So we cleared some stuff there. You guys can kind of talk about the game, I guess, while I show.
So a very interesting aspect of this game for me, which is one of the reasons I like playing this game on solo mode so much, is how you can just freely move around and drop the board while you're playing, so it opens up to a lot of combo extensions and chain extensions, I should say. So it gets pretty intense later on. Actually, when I first started playing this game, you can see on the left that there's a level, so the game gets faster as it goes on. Around the 3-minute mark, it turns up to, well, it depends on how fast you're playing. It turns up to level 19, where it's the level in which the game starts getting way too fast for regular players. I was stuck playing up until level 19 for years, until the game finally clicked for me around a year ago. So yeah.
That sounds about normal.
Yeah.
Level 19 is where the game gets truly crazy. The speed goes up very slowly. You see, I'm on level 9 and there's barely anything different. Very slow. But once you get to level 19, the speed is very fast, and you actually make the speed go slower while you're chaining. That's why it's so important to learn to chain. You don't have to chain like a master, right? You just have to do these small chains over and over just to constantly survive.
Because no more coins come down while you're chaining. Although you can still pull down more coins manually if you want, right?
Yes, but you can't really... So when you're pulling down more coins, you can't really control the rest of the game at the same time. You have to shoot one or the other, so you have to find these little times during chains where you can afford to do that without dropping the chain even more, if you're going to take that route. Anyway, I guess I should end this and start from the beginning, so I can kind of show how to set up a small chain.
Sure.
So what I would say when you're starting to play this game is to kind of prioritize fundamentals over speed and let the speed come later. Because speed without fundamentals is meaningless, but fundamentals without speed is not. Because it's kind of like imagine you're learning an instrument or something, and you're learning to play something. Well, just getting the notes right first is obviously more important than playing at the correct speed, because you can let the speed catch up while you're learning. I think it's the same when you're chaining in this. So when I see people that play really fast but they're not really chaining, I feel like, okay, you need to pay more attention to the coins. But when I see someone who is playing really slow, but at least they're thinking about how to get the little chains, then I think they're doing it. They're getting it. So okay, so this is actually a really bad board to showcase because I want lots of ones. So I'm just gonna do some bullshit until I get the ones out. Because I think starting from ones is the easiest way to start. So now I have lots of coins available to me. So I can just start by putting these ones here, and they will chain into a 5 at the top. And then I can grab the 10s and drop them on that 5, so that we get 5 10s after that. And then I can grab a 50 and the 100s. So... So that's a small chain. Now we didn't have a 500 available there, but either way, getting chains up to like 5 is a good start, because it just shows that you're kind of getting at least how to do it. So that's what it looks like.
Yeah, and the critical thing to chaining in this game is to utilize the coin that results from the first set of them clearing away. That's one of the big differences between this and Magical Drop. And I think a lot of new players are actually annoyed by the extra coin that appears.
Oh, like that's the best part, though.
Yeah, because they don't account for it and it gets in their way. But actually, when the key to chaining well in this is to actually use that coin to your advantage.
Oh yeah, so it's so often when you're chaining and you're playing really fast, you forget to look at the adjacent coins to the at the end to see if it will keep chaining on its own, and you're dropping in another 5 on the ones or something that you didn't actually need to do. You could have used that 5 somewhere else to keep the chain even longer or something.
It feels pretty good to hold chains in this game and just continue to chain them.
Here's some ERs.
Oh yeah.
I forgot what ER stands for. Does anyone remember?
Eraser, I think.
Eraser, yeah, that's true. So you can use the erasers there and keep a chain going before the eraser actually activates, but you delete the erasers. They just don't activate until the chain's over. That's another helpful way to bridge chains, is to use ERs during a chain and to keep chaining, and the ER will activate when the chain is over, but it will bridge the chain. So about how the chaining works, you can see that like the coins transform, right?
Yes.
Yes, and while they transform, that's your window to keep the chain going. And because there's a specific timings for, I'm just gonna, I can't quite talk and play at the same time, so I'm just gonna kill this so I can start over from slower speed. While the coins are transforming, there are only specific times where coins can transform independent of each other. So if you see a coin transforming and you drop another coin to transform somewhere else right afterwards, there will be a delay until the next set of coins transform, which is helpful for chaining. So I don't know exactly if it's like a rhythm. Like any coins that you drop outside of that rhythm will start to chain when the next part of the rhythm keeps going, or whatever. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe someone else can do a better job explaining, because I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's like every second coins can clear, and if they connect prior to that, they'll wait until the next beat to clear.
Yes, and if you're too early, you will get two coins chaining together and not independently of each other, which will be that's obviously ruins your chain if that happens. So let's say, for example, that I want to clear these ones, and I also want to do this. Now that happens at the same time, even though I dropped the fives on the right at a different timing than the ones turned into a 5 on the left. They both happen to be together because of this fact.
Yeah, the 5s on the right couldn't clear at that moment, so they just waited.
Yes. So that's kind of an important part to make all this stuff work. I can't think of anything else right now to say.
Well, there's not an opportunity to use them right now, but we should also mention the green orbs, which are the...
Oh, right. Let's get some green orbs out as well.
Which are RUs, or it stands for rank ups, I believe?
Rank up, yeah. The RUs are a bit more uncommon than the ERs. So the solo board here, it looks entirely random, but apparently it's just a giant pattern that repeats itself. So, and when I say repeats itself, it can actually spawn you anywhere in the pattern, or maybe a set amount of places. But either way, it won't look like it's always the same pattern. But you play this solo enough, you'll start to notice patterns.
That was pretty wild to discover. I mean, well, you told me, but yeah.
Yeah, Sil's the one who told me. I think he's correct, at least.
I don't know. It definitely repeats. You play it enough, you eventually realize.
So it's not a pure randomizer port?
No, unfortunately.
It will be more interesting. I imagine it could get a bit stale to just see.
Here's the RUs.
Yeah.
So, if you want more score, you could use the RUs on the 100s to turn them into 500s, but that's usually kind of, can be kind of terrible actually for survival to do that.
Yes.
I used them on the 10s there. So it turned all the 10s on the screen to 50s. Yeah.
Usually those items, the safest thing to use them on is ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say ones, and then 10s is second most safe.
Yeah.
And using them on 5s or 50s is unsafe.
Yes.
That can bite you in the ass.
Yeah, I've had a lot of runs die to that.
Yeah, because when you're playing too well, you start using these ERs and RUs accidentally or very, very quickly on something because you just want to get rid of them.
And they accidentally fall on a 5 or a 50 and just messes up your whole board. It's pretty bad. So yeah, we can start seeing the speed really pick up and this at the 16 level here. And it's still nothing compared to level 19. I believe it does stop increasing by level 19, right? Like it's just, that's the limit.
Yeah, the speed doesn't go up after that.
Yeah. So yeah, surviving after that is really tough.
And the game stops scrolling while you're chaining. That's why it's important to chain.
Yeah, now we can see level 19 and how fast it is.
Well, is there anything more to talk about here, or should we move on from solo?
Yeah, I believe we can move on to versus mode.
No, I'm just gonna sit here and play for a PB. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you can show playing against the computer too, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Because a lot of people probably when they play alone they choose computer and not solo.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. So when you play versus the computer, the game has an ending and you can get a 1cc or something. But well, it's not as interesting as playing solo. You just attack the computer like in versus mode, and the computer the computer in this game isn't very good.
Yeah.
So you can start with this when you're starting the game. You can start with this, but you'll probably lose interest pretty fast.
So the idea here is that when you chain, it sends more coins to the other side, and you can see a line come down on how much the coins are going to be pulled down.
So these are all the opponents. That's what it looks like versus the computer.
You're not gonna want to see.
It goes by pretty fast. You can 1cc this in like 5 to 10 minutes, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty good for beginners, I would say. A lot of puzzle games I've played have really hard modes against the computer. This one does not.
All right. So we can move on to an exhibition match between Sham and Seal to see what the game's versus mode looks like, and well.
So
let's start with like Exchanger and Cherrybiter.
Alright.
Sure.
So the different characters send different patterns in this game. Mm-hmm. Although it starts with just showing, the garbage at the start. They eventually start shooting their own patterns.
Yeah. So playing this game in a serious competitive setting, I should say, usually goes for a to play for mirror matches of the same character, so it's not really as unbalanced. Because I believe it can get pretty uneven if you play different characters.
Yeah, from a casual perspective, I actually like that some characters have easier patterns than others. because you can play against someone who's more skilled than you, and it kind of bridges the skill gap between two different players just by virtue of the patterns being easier. So a more skilled player can still give 100% effort, and they don't have to go easy on the weak player, and yet it's still going to be easier for that player because the pattern of the coins is simpler to clear.
Yeah, so the top row characters in the character select screen have more simple patterns that are easier to get around and chain to, while the bottom row characters have more complex patterns that are kind of easy to get lost to.
Can't get back in.
Oh, it doesn't. Now. Okay. Yeah. So I think we think that these two characters are the weakest, Coquetry and Stepmiser.
Yeah.
I don't have much experience when it comes to Coquetry's pattern, but I find Dead Miser's pattern to be really exciting to play.
Yeah, she's like the most fun of the weak characters.
Yeah, you can chain a lot, and it makes for some really exciting back and forths constantly.
Yeah, as you guys can see, versus mode in this game is pretty. Like, look.
Yeah. It's
pretty brutal in how much it spends. So games tends to be pretty short, but sometimes you might get a game that's really long.
Yeah, for example, Exchanger also gives tons of ERs. ERs. So you can be constantly resetting your board and just hoping to see who survives the longest. So yeah, I usually prefer playing these easier characters, or lower tier characters, Exchanger and Debnizer. Also, the bottom row characters, since they are more complex, make for more interesting counter picks.
Let's do Elder Labor and Every Worker.
Alright.
Yeah, the bottom row characters, they all have hard patterns it's kind of hard to learn which one is which in my opinion.
You only send coins to the opponent, right? It's not like Puyo Puyo 2 where you can cancel out garbage.
You can cancel it out.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay.
I should also mention that it's not really recommended to go for real long chains on a versus match, since you can really just eat up all the garbage that it's been sending to you while you're on your chain, and you don't really get to contest it at the right time. So sometimes it might be best to just hold off your chain. Cut short your chain, so you can send your attack and then go back to chaining. And it's also really important to really notice the status of your board. If like sometimes you might leave some really bad stuff on the sides that you don't really taking care of, and it can all go down very fast and just you will lose.
These are the two strongest characters. One moment my board is empty.
Yeah, it's
Next thing I know, I'm dead. It's money puzzle exchanger for you.
yeah, it goes really fast. Let's see.
Well, believe it or not, sometimes you can get rounds that go pretty long.
Yeah.
It does happen. It's just not happening right now.
So what's the competitive community for this game like?
Well, I know there's. I should have done some investigation on the Japanese side of things, since I follow a couple of accounts that have held tournaments in the past. But in this side, lately there has been some monthly tournaments, 5K tournaments. I've participated in all of them so far, and each time has been better. There's definitely some people. It's usually around 13 to 15 people, so I would say it is somewhat lively, and it's a good time, and it's good to see people try to learn and who are really getting into this game and not falling for the magical draw propaganda, since it has more players, but it's not really as fun as the game, I feel.
Yeah, the controls in this game are very different from Magical Drop. It makes it play much better.
Yeah, it is a lot more fluid, but Magical Drop, I feel it's pretty clunky to move around.
Yeah, I couldn't get into Magical Drop because my the controls just didn't agree with me. Maybe
Yeah,
you
same.
can get more used to it, but this game just feels much better right away to me. I could see it just only being a problem if you're so used to Magical Drop that somehow this is what gives you trouble. But yeah, anyone who that likes Magical Drop should give this game a shot. I would say.
So yeah, it's definitely good to see that there's some community building up for this game. And
Well, should we keep playing or should we just resume to talking?
well, maybe we should see a Dead Miser match, like the two of you,
Yeah.
or exchanger
Oh,
match.
yeah.
It has the most potential to go for long, but well, you know how this game goes, so that might not be true. So So you can probably just notice how big the chains are going in this match compared to the other ones. So like the difference in points should be telling with how much more chains you're capable of doing in a versus match of these two characters. And it's easy to see how the Dead Miser patterns shapes up to be kind of vertical rows of the same coin. So sometimes it might look like one person might be really close to dead, but they're just really one moment away from changing things up. And of course, there's
Oh, I was just saying indeed.
Oh.
Oh, I had all those ERs, but I wanted to
Yeah, it's also very important to know when to use your ERs, because sometimes you want to save them for later on in the game, or later on in the match. But the game goes so fast that it make the best sometimes to just use them.
Oh god.
So there he can keep his game going, but
Oh,
right.
Last round here.
Yeah, you can see how the back and forths in this matchup are pretty more prominent compared to the other matches we've seen so far.
Yeah, like it's easier to do back and forths when you can save yourself when the coins are low, which is much harder to do the harder the patterns are, obviously.
Yeah, since you can get really consistent chains in this character's pattern.
All right, so
Yeah,
how we've shown the game.
yeah, I think that's pretty much does it for the versus side. And since we've shown every character and their gameplay differences, so
this game had a few ports, didn't it?
well, I haven't played the PlayStation 1, but the Game Boy version is really bad.
What is it about the Game Boy that's so bad? Obviously it's going to be slower, I would imagine, but...
Well, from what I remember, the movement is just a lot more clunkier, and you don't really see your opponent. I don't really remember how it works out, the garbage that it sends you, and how it determines your victory, but yeah, you don't really see your opponent, so you just play like a solo board, but you're against the computer. This is kind of weird. Mostly, it's the very inferior movement that just makes the Game Boy version not really worth playing.
In 2018, it was ported to modern consoles, Switch, PS4, PC. So you can buy the game that way if you want. Although I think most people just emulate it or play on Fightcade.
Yeah, I have seen some people play it on Switch, but I don't know if it really has. I don't think it has online play or anything. I think it just has leaderboards. So it's really just better to just emulate it and play it on Fightcade, or just play solo by yourself on emulator if you really want to get into this game.
I don't think we really went into the appeal of solo, that solo is like a high score mode.
Yeah.
So I think most of us here have some experience with high scoring, right?
Yeah. Well, it's what I play the most, yeah.
Yeah. Still has a counter stop, or multiple counter stops even. That's when the score stops counting upward at 9.9 million.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And 999,000.
And then you can keep trying to speed run. So
yeah, there's a nifty little timer.
Mm-hmm.
It shows you. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a timer there. So even if you're so good that you can counter stop the game, you can still keep improving counter stop faster. That's why solo really does hold up.
Mm-hmm.
If someone wanted to watch those super plays, where could they find them?
Oh, I don't have a video of any of my speedruns.
No videos?
Unfortunately.
Okay.
No.
I've only gotten up to 4 million in 30 minutes, but I think I'm at the point where if I don't really learn how to chain peek more consistently, I'm not really going to get much better. So I think I really should focus on that, since I think I'm doing fine when it comes to just surviving.
Yeah, if you want to counter stop, you should ideally be able to do it in like under an hour.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's very demanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't try for it. I get so tired after like 20 minutes. I'm so tired. And at that point, I'm nowhere near even halfway. Like,
Yeah.
so the score accelerates. The longer your chain goes, the more it accelerates. So if you get a really, really, really huge chain, you could get a score of over 1 million from just one chain.
But it doesn't factor in the level, the speed.
I don't think so. Does it still?
No, it's just the length of the combo multiplied by the value of all the coins.
Well,
Yeah.
anything else?
Well, yeah.
No. Thanks so much for demonstrating. We usually just do an audio-only podcast, but this was good to try something new, and I'm glad we were able to show exactly what the game is all about.
Yeah, with a game like this, I think it's probably pretty important to show, or it's hard to really grasp. So, it's a puzzle game with numbers. What does that mean? Like,
Yeah, no, this was good.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any more thoughts that they wanted to share about the game in general, or about new players, like where they should start off getting into it?
well, I think I can share that. I think the cast is really cute. It's got a very, very appealing cast. Like a lot of these puzzle games, they obviously have like cute anime characters and stuff. But I think this game really has one of the most appeal in that regard.
Yeah.
Also because it's not overbearing. Like a lot of these games, they get overbearing with like how the portraits get all crazy. So the background goes all crazy, and it's kind of hard to tell what's going on sometimes. But this game keeps it very clean and professional. The characters are just there for show, and they don't really steal the spotlight.
I heard there was a manga produced.
Yeah, there's actually a manga and a CD drama. I think there was also a novel adaptation or something like that. And I believe the story between all these media kind of conflicts, but the general gist is kind of wild. So Sakura becomes exchanger due to a rare endorphin she secretes called Wundorphin, which makes her extremely greedy, and was kind of weird, but I think it really kind of weirdly matches the game's aesthetic and kind of gives it kind of a little more charm.
Yeah, the game does have a lot of charm.
Yeah.
And the music's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned that.
Yeah,
on
the music.
on the soundtrack CD, there's some arrangements that they made, and I think those are really good. A lot better than the background music.
Yeah, I also prefer the arrangements, to be honest. But the background music is certainly great too. And as for getting into the game, I mean, it's so arcade emulation can be a bit annoying and tricky sometimes, but it's definitely worth it. These old arcade games are super solid and so much fun. So even if it's tricky, if anyone is interested in the game, I would suggest that route because it will lead to many other discoveries as well. And the game is very easy to get into. You just start versus computer versus solo. You learn the rules. There's no weird, there's no like progression system or anything to make it take time to grow on you or anything like that. The game's just immediately enjoyable and playable. And if you do want to play versus other players, then Fightcade is where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think that does it for this episode. Once again, thanks to both of you for taking the time to talk with us and demonstrate the game.
Thanks
For
for
everyone
having me.
listening, hope you enjoyed learning about Money Puzzle Exchanger, and we'll see you next time.
See you.